My name is Julie Griffin. I'm a Wake graduate in 1969. My husband and son both went to Wake Forest, and we're very proud of that fact. I just retired from Wake Forest after 31 years in the athletic department. For 10 of those years, I was an advisor to a sorority on campus to Chi Omega. And the reason we're sitting on these benches today has to do with me being an advisor at Chi Omega. The benches we're sitting on are to the left of Wake Forest Chapel. This bench is in memory of Julie Marie Hanson, a sophomore at Wake Forest. And there's a similar bench behind the tree for Maya Witzel, also a sophomore at Wake Forest. Both girls were killed by a drunk driver on the first day of class, Wednesday night, September 4th, 1996. And I want to tell you that story because there's an important message for everybody. So about 10:30 p.m. on Wednesday, September 4th, 1996, 6 girls piled in to Fiona Penny's Hosda hatchback and headed to a party on Indiana Avenue. At the same time, at North Point, Thomas Richard Jones is in his car at a stoplight, and he's been drinking and mixing drugs and alcohol. He's on pain medication, oxycodone, and other medications, and the doctors have told him not to ever drive when he's on his pain medication, but he does anyway. He's a habitual drunk driving offender. He's got a pending drunk driving trial facing him on this night. He's at the stop sign, and he backs up and hits the car in front of him 2 or 3 times, gesturing and in anger. The light turns green, and he speeds around the car that was in front of him, and somebody calls 911 and says, "You've got to stop this guy. He's got to kill somebody." He goes up on the curb, loses a hubcap, turns right on Indiana, and then right on Polo as the girls are going down Polo. He ends up driving recklessly and is in their lane just as they reach the intersection of Brookwood and Polo. Fiona sees him. She maybe had a second and a half to react. There are cars on the right side of the road. She sees Brookwood and she tries to turn in. I'm sure she's panicked and frantic at that moment to avoid Jones in his car. As she turns left on Brookwood, Jones swerves back into his correct lane and broadsides the car with the 6 girls in it. That's 10:34 on that Wednesday night. And then at 2 o'clock, the girls call me back and say, meet them at Baptist Hospital, that the Coyotes were in the wreck. I go to Baptist and to the emergency room to find out that Maya Witzel and Julie Hanson died on the operating table after the accident. There are no words, y'all, to describe how you feel when you get those words. I'm not even their parents, but they're girls that I know. And I am surrounded by the officers of the sorority who are hysterical in their grief. The other 4 girls in the accident, 3 of them are injured severely. The driver, Fiona Penny, is lucky, was not injured and was released that night. The next day, on Thursday, the word has spread around campus. Y'all don't have chapel anymore at Wake Forest, but we used to have chapel every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 o'clock. And it's normally held in Davis Chapel with a small number of students attending. Dr. Hearn moved chapel. Dr. Hearn was the president at that time, moved chapel to Wake Chapel, and there was a service of remembrance for the girls who were killed the night before. About 1,500 students from campus attended the ceremony and the service. And after it was over, as students gathered on the quad, they were tears, screams, just horrified, terrible reactions. People were embracing, they were in each other's arms, and Dr. Hearn looks out over the quad and says it's like Dante's Inferno. He just cannot believe the tragedy that has befallen these Wake Forest students and actually the entire campus. I want to tell you a little bit about the 2 girls that we lost. Both were sophomores at Wake. Both were 19 years old. Maya was a mixed race. Her mom was black, her dad was white. She really wanted to put on her driver's license. She didn't want to check others, she wanted to check unique. She had so much self-confidence. She was so beautiful. She had a presence when she entered the room that everybody noticed her. She was extremely compassionate. She was involved with a group called Anytown USA that worked with diversity for all students or all people to be accepted. Julie had a quiet demeanor till you got to know her, and then she was hilarious. She had a smile that lit up the room. She wanted to be a doctor. She ran track her first year and then gave it up her sophomore year. But they were wonderful young women that were going to do great things with their lives. So the man that hit the girls and killed the two students, is in the hospital with minor injuries, and he ends up being arrested and charged with first-degree murder. It's the first time in the history of North Carolina that someone has been charged with first-degree murder in a drunk driving accident. It makes national news. The word gets out on campus that he is trying to get out of the hospital and leave the city, and Vince Rabel, who is the prosecuting attorney, gets word to us on campus that we need a petition for the judge. 5,000 students, faculty, staff, and friends get a petition done in 24 hours to take to the judge to keep Jones in jail. So then in November of that year, Wake Forest students are still really up in arms that this man, Thomas Richard Jones, would have been out driving with a drunk driving record on his record, and they really want to change the laws, and they form Safe Roads and trying to get the laws changed in North Carolina. A lot of students get involved, and then in April of 1997, we actually have a rally in Raleigh with over 200 students, 175 Wake Forest students, and then students from Chapel Hill, Duke, and NC State descend on Raleigh. They lobby for the changing of the laws, and eventually the laws are changed, and in August of 1997, Governor Hunt, who was then the governor of North Carolina, signed into law a new law that made the drunk driving laws much stricter. So some good did come out of this terrible, terrible tragedy, and we're all very proud that they were proactive and were able to do this. In the end of April and into May 6th, I think it was, we had 2 weeks of a trial downtown Winston-Salem in the courthouse where Thomas Richard Jones was on trial for first-degree murder. And then Jones was convicted on May 6, 1997 of first-degree murder, a triumph of sorts. Of 2000, the North Carolina Supreme Court overturned the first-degree convictions, saying that it had never been done. There was nothing on the books to say they could do that, so we had to have a retrial. And he was retried in 2003 and found guilty. Actually, he pled guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to serve between 15 and 18 years in prison. He deserved every single minute of those years. He was released in April of 2012, which is a very hard day for all of us who knew those young women. So what happened to those girls? They have died, but their memories have never died, and the way people feel, and it made them feel, is not going to go away. On September 4th, 1997, Dr. Hearn dedicated this bench for Julie, the bench for Maya, and a bench out in front of Whitechapel for both girls. And these were his words at the dedication. We dedicate this bench and this place on our campus to Julie and Maya in memory and in hope. May their dreams and ambitions live on in each of us to summon us to high achievement and service to others. In future years, may the enlivening spirit of those that we honor today and cherish forever touch those who stop to read or rest or to pray. May you remember all your lives and say to your children and your children's children that there is a corner of the earth at Wake Forest that is forever holy ground, made sacred by love. Anyway, my message to y'all is, when you pass these benches, stop and think. Think about making the most of your life, taking care of your friends, and never drinking and driving. And don't let your friends drink and drive.